What if Halloween Retribution, aka Halloween 9, actually released? So, the proposed Halloween 9, from what I remember of it, was that John Tate was going to team up with Sheriff Brackett to try and take Michael down. And this movie was supposed to be a follow up to Halloween Resurrection. Although, what I find so funny about it being a follow up to Halloween Resurrection is that, in spite of being a sequel to the eighth film, the only part of the eighth film that was seemingly going to be kept in continuity was the first 10 minutes of it where Michael kills Laurie. So if you watch that opening scene, that would be all you need in terms of stuff that was important as carried from film to film, which is kind of sad because as much as I don't like really any of the characters that are introduced in Resurrection, um I would say at least have Freddy in some returning role, maybe not as big as Resurrection itself because he's like a very divisive character, but he could be there as like comic relief, as someone that just is still trying to get Dangertainment off the ground or start up some new iteration of it. But keeping in mind that this is the H2O continuity and how we never found out who exactly was the sheriff after Halloween 2, we can just assume and infer that Brackett remained the sheriff after that movie, right? So this probably would have come out in like 2005, 6, 7. Let's just say it comes out in like 2005 or 6 and it's set in 2008. So this means that it's been 30 years since Brackett lost his daughter, and he's this cop who's closer to retirement age, and is very much regretting the fact that Michael is still on the loose. He's still going around killing people. He's even worse now because he goes to different towns. He's shown he's on the move, and showing up in Haddonfield is Laurie's son John, who is very remorseful of the fact that he didn't take his mother's warnings seriously, that he wasn't there to protect her or help her when she faced Michael for the last time. And you could have his girlfriend, Molly, return as well and give her sort of a role where she's kind of that person that tells him, hey, it's not your fault, you couldn't have known that this guy that disappeared for 20 years was going to come back and do what he did. She would just be sort of like a mediating, more moderate figure that kind of reins him in from going all the way in terms of his despair. And to try and get himself to feel a little bit better, or to be more immersed in terms of the stuff his mother would talk to him about, John has returned, or I guess showed up for the first time in Haddonfield with the intention of learning from different people who were there what his mother was like, what was the night of 1978 like. And one of the things I like about the H2O timeline keeping Halloween 2 is that this isn't some three people got killed and a guy disappeared crap like the 2018 film series. You're talking about a total bloodbath where it starts off with a few teenagers, then it spirals into a hospital exploding and must be 10 or 15 people dead in one night. And of course, because we know that the night of Halloween 2 didn't wrap up until midnight of like that same night, that means that there could have been even more victims that Michael had off screen. So you would have this fifth film, right, in this continuity, connect a lot to the first two more than either H2 or Resurrection did, because they weren't set. Well, Resurrection was set in Haddonfield, but you didn't really get to see the town or any of their reactions. But you get the idea. This would connect it more to the first two than the last two were, I would say. But you would have Michael in Haddonfield as well, looking for John, right, trying to kill off this damn bloodline that never seems to go away. And as he's doing this, John and Brackett are like onto him. They know that he's out there. They know he's in town because they're hearing about murders as well. And I'd say if I wanted to wrap this up or conclude it, you have to have Michael die in some way that's inconclusive, right? So this is assuming that Mustafa Akkad is still around. I guess you could have him get knocked out, or I mean, hell, I think I'd settle even for just having him be put in an institution, because at least that way Brackett can retire with some peace of mind that the person that killed his daughter is, back in prison, and that, if he gets out, both he and John are going to make sure that this doesn't play out the way it did, in 78. Now, if there were any sequels to this, and God, the idea of just a straight up Halloween 10 sounds like wow. Presumably, you're not going to get Cyphers, right? The actor that played Brackett, to, unfortunately, he has passed away since. So I think probably I give it a maybe one or two sequels you could get him back for before you'd have to just permanently retire Brackett in the same vein as Loomis. But I think this would have been an organic way of resetting the series, right? Still having it in Haddonfield, right? Still keeping the whole, familial thing introduced in H2, but, going further in that direction of, okay, well, Michael was able to finally take out Laurie, but it took him too long, so she had a kid, and this kid knows how to take care of himself, and he's seeking vengeance on Michael for his the death of his mother. And that's kind of what I thought would be interesting, to just kind of have this sort of determination, because with many of the people who've tried to take out Michael before, right, like with Loomis, it was like a failure of being his doctor, not being able to keep him contained. But with John, you would really have this angle of, you killed my mother, really my only family member for the 17 years that we were undisturbed by you, and I'm going to get my revenge. So that would be how I would go about making this film. Even, again, and like my ideas with this stuff is that even if these are not my preferred continuations, because I'm not really a fan of pretending H4 didn't exist, I'm never going to approach, just fleshing out different script ideas that were proposed by somebody else without a genuine attempt to make it work, right? So, like, I didn't come up with the Brackett and John team up, but I said, hey, two people who Michael has killed the loved ones of, wanting revenge. Okay, we can make that work. So I think it probably would have been better than Resurrection, although, again, it's like, it's so loosely a sequel to Resurrection that you damn near could skip that whole movie after the first 10 minutes and not really miss much. But yeah, I wouldn't have mind seeing this, and I probably would have preferred it over Rob Zombie's Halloween for what it's worth.